Our first presentation is going to be by a company that once was a startup, actually. So it was founded by Bill Gates, so probably all of you are aware of that person. So Microsoft, particularly Elisse Sass, who is actually a startup lead for Microsoft in Central Eastern Europe, is going to be giving a presentation how Microsoft has helped him startups to grow big to the next big multinational corporations. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Elise. I work at Microsoft, but I'm a startupper. I worked for Microsoft 3 months. And before that, I worked with startups and in startups, organizing hackathons, also being a co-founder in an accelerator in Estonia. So why I joined Microsoft? There are several reasons. When I arrived yesterday, then one of the first presentations that I saw was actually about what was said now as well. Microsoft was a startup. And those guys who actually started Apple and Microsoft, Greg, Kit made good examples. The guys made really disruptive ideas. They would be criminals today, but they believed in their things and what they did, and they made them happen and grew big. Today, often what happens is that startups want to succeed as well. They would need access to big corporations, but often what happens is that they seem to be closed, or you can't really get access to the people or the resources in them. So this is what we are here to change and prove, that we at Microsoft are more open and more available for you throughout the different ways. Trezorit is a cool young startup. They're from Hungary, and I met them last week. They launched their product 6 days ago, and they are completely secure cloud storage. So the first question would be that for Microsoft, they would be competitor because they are directly probably targeting the same target group as SkyDrive is doing as well. They're cloud storage. But no, Trezorit is using Windows Asura, and they're one of the startups that are helped from Hungarian Microsoft team. And they're one of the startups who gets a lot of resources. In addition to, free Asura for 60,000 US dollars, they also get a lot of mentorship advice. It's the first startup for these guys. But I would say that the passion in their eyes are pretty similar to what we saw in the big corporations 30 years ago. And they know that they can disrupt the market. So why I mention them is that thanks to the resources that they have today, within the first 6 days, these guys have not hundreds or just few thousands, but many, many more users than that. And all because they are also using the already ready-made resources from Microsoft. Microsoft, for years already, has launched a program for startups, particularly BizSpark, that gives software, it gives you tools, and we also say that we give you visibility through the network, that there are 50,000 different startups all over the world using it. In addition to the startups, there are many other network partners that Microsoft works together and wants the startup to get benefits from. But what are the things that I, as a startupper, would care that Microsoft gives for the startups? And one thing definitely that I already mentioned is the software and the tools. What I've seen throughout the years is that Microsoft has provided different tools, but often the startup world hasn't used them. And even those developers who would actually benefit from this. So during the past year, while a new Windows 8, Windows Phone 8 has been launched, then more and more startups are more eager to use the possibilities, use the different tools that we are giving. Whether it's just Windows 8 software, Windows Phone, or for developers, it's Visual Studio, or the backend guys, it's the Asura, to make sure that their product and the backend are running fluently. But after that, yes, there are great tools. When I was working for an accelerator, we were running also so-called corporate days. And we had Microsoft, PayPal, Amazon coming in. First things that these guys usually do is that they give you this fancy presentation and sell their things. And the startups that we had in the program didn't expect to have much more. What turned out was that several of these guys from the corporations were actually the most useful connections for our startups. Why? Because they actually took time later as well to give further connections for our startups. So for example, one of our startups ended up in an invite-only conference as a presenter in the UK. Another startup actually got a personal intro for one of the biggest advertisement agencies, also in the UK, and so on. So what I would like to say is definitely the guys working at corporations, they have a lot of useful connections. And this is what you can always use when you actually see them, when you meet them as well. There are much more behind also this fancy presentation than just the talk that we need to say. Experience. I would say that the experience comes from two ways. First of all, of course, we can look as a motivation, how far the big companies have come throughout past 10, 20, or 30 years. But we can look also at the experience as one of the ways what the people are doing inside the companies. They're working with specific products, with specific things. Definitely, there are also people who innovate, who come up with new ideas, who work for either Kinect, Microsoft Research, and who would be really, really cool guys for you to see. It's also about knowledge. In a startup, it's a lot about passion, it's a lot about actually believing and your gut feeling that what you're doing is the right thing to do. I would say it's the same way also in our big corporations. And knowledge is something that we're really eager to share. We would like to share what we are doing today, also what are the future plans, but also the other way around. So communication with the information is really, really important thing. In order to share the experience and knowledge, we have different programs also. App Campus is running in Finland. It's directed to Windows Phone applications together with Nokia. And I'm pretty sure that several startups from here as well have applied for this program or planning to do that. Or for example, Microsoft has joined with third-party accelerators all over the world, not only Techstars in US, to bring more resources and more people towards the startups and offer their programs. I would like to mention here that not all the accelerator programs actually expect that when you enter the program, you would be fully developing on Microsoft services. No, it's all about the innovation, the approach, and actually the way how you present yourself. So you still have to be a really strong startup, and you have to do something that's not on the market yet. Opportunities. I'm from Estonia, so the biggest motivational startup that we have had in Estonia is definitely Skype. Skype started as a really small thing, and thanks to the developers, in addition to the Danish and Swedish guy, we were able to build Skype, one of the biggest and most successful calling companies in the world. And this has motivated many more startups, I would say probably, not only in Estonia, but in all around the Baltics. And one of the possibilities and opportunities that Skype did was they started to interact with the big players on a pretty early stage. Today, Skype is one of the tools that Microsoft owns. And there was a huge excitement behind that buying Skype. Of course, there were doubts as well whether it will actually create a situation where Skype is no longer a startup. I would say that Skype definitely had grown already during past years, so it wasn't in that sense like 5, 10, or 20 people startup anymore. Anyway, so what I would like to say for you to end in here. Corporations, the big companies, the big players, have come a long way from the day when they started 30 years ago, from the process when they were pretty closed, to today, when they understand again that in order to grow themselves, they need to be more open. And in order to be more open, the communication has to be stronger. The support, the excitement from the startup world is something that we would really, really like to have even more. Thank you.